Hey Hotshots, Jess with Emotional Fire Academy here today to talk about gut health for highly sensitive people. Subscribe to my channel if you are a highly sensitive person who is looking for weekly tips, tricks, and tools to help evolve, be happy, and up-level your life. And who am I? I'm Jess. I'm your driver operator on this journey. I'm a former firefighter and a master NLP practitioner. So, I do want to caveat this video that my background is in firefighting and NLP, so that's kind of where I'm going to approach this today. I'm going to throw in some science and link the articles below, but please take everything I say with a grain of salt. Make your own healthy, wise decisions because I trust you and your body and what your belief system is and what your truth is. Please always follow that. So, let's dive into gut health. I think this is something that isn't really addressed in the HSP community. Nobody really talks about what the actual physiological connections to emotions are as far as the gut's role in all of it, right? So I want to dive into that today and kind of get a little bit deeper because I found when I started being more attentive to my gut, I started seeing really like the more noticeable changes in emotionality. And I talk a lot on my channel about, if you've seen my other videos, the fire triangle, the three elements that contribute to your emotions are language, conditioning, and physiology. On this channel, we talk a lot about conditioning and language and how to shift that because that's something that can be shifted very easily and quickly. The thing I don't talk a lot about is your actual physiology. And so today we're going to dive a little bit more into that area and how to address emotionality and become, get the emotions that you want, create the emotions that you want by leveraging the sides of that triangle, the emotional fire triangle. So gut health. Let's start with the science behind this. And I did look up some facts found a great article online. I will link that below in the description box with just some basic, gut-brain connection facts that we can start with that kind of show us that the gut and the brain they're very closely intertwined. And if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, that would make a lot of sense because your gut, if you eat the wrong thing, you're dead. So your gut and your brain really have to be talking to each other in order for you as an organism to continue to thrive, to live to see another day. And so it works the opposite way of, when your brain is upset, it can also affect your gut. And so if you're having a lot of emotionality and spinning in story or spinning in emotion or spinning in thoughts that aren't good for you, it's going to affect your gut too. And why is that? Well, there is the vagus nerve connects these two areas. The vagus nerve runs directly from your gut up to your brain. And it's the primary nerve for communication between these two areas. But it's not the only way of communication. The brain has 100 billion neurons in it. So these particular type of cells, neurons obviously being the cells that, really transmit information. The gut also has 500 million neurons, which isn't as much as the brain, but it is quite significant, right? 500 million neurons in the gut, 100 billion in the brain. So your gut is, as far as, the volume of neurons, your gut is it's closely behind your brain in terms of the volume of neurons. And so when we think about, decision making, it's not just your brain that's making decisions, but also your gut. Your gut is literally helping to make decisions because it has the same types of nerves in it as your brain. And that too, in line with that, is that the fact that not only your brain produces neurotransmitters, right? Those are the chemicals that are secreted that send signals that have to do with emotions and then obviously behavior. And so the gut also produces neurotransmitters. Now, this is pretty fascinating because, especially for highly sensitive people, because we are physiologically very in tune with what's happening in our neurotransmitters, right, in our brain. And so, particularly in our dopaminergic system, but also in terms of what's going on with our serotonin. And a large proportion of our serotonin is produced in the gut and not the brain. So, or in addition to the brain, and serotonin contributes to feelings of happiness. So, if you find as a highly sensitive person that you are experiencing a lot of negative emotion, you're sensing that negative emotion, you're in tune with the negative emotion. However, it seems difficult to summon feelings of joy, happiness, the very specific positive emotions where you actually have a body feel for happiness. There's a difference between the sensation of contentment where you're just neutral, you're content, there's nothing ruffling your feathers, and then happiness, right? Happiness it has a body feel of a step above, quite a few steps above of contentment. So as an HSP, if you sense that there's something above contentment that you're like trying to get to and you just can't, the body feel isn't quite there, you might want to look in your gut. Your gut might be the answer to figuring that out and getting control of the gut, managing the gut, bringing more healthy behaviors on for the gut so that you can then actually experience that happiness, like have a real body sensation of happiness and what it feels like on a more consistent basis, as opposed to just when things are really, 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 really going right, then you get this little boost of happiness. And let's talk about the actual, a little bit more of the philosophical idea of the gut, because I think that's important too. Because obviously language conditioning, it's kind of my thing, if you haven't noticed already. And so I like to philosophize a little bit. So now the science, you got the science. You know that serotonin, a large proportion of serotonin is in the gut. The gut is essentially a nerve center, just like the brain, and the gut is going to be making decisions about, very important decisions. So let's talk about actually involving the gut more in your stories, right? Because we talk about stories a lot on this channel, thoughts, improving them, making them better, because then we have the emotional connection where then we can have better and better emotions and feelings and sensations by changing those stories. So the brain is more of it's the creative element, right? It does have more neurons. And because of that, when you just think about how the organ works, how the brain works, when you imagine it in your head, it's all these neurons and firing and the clouds of electricity. It's very quick. It's very, there's a lot of activity. And thus it feels, when you're in your head, it does feel very it can feel very chaotic. There's a lot of thoughts. It's hard to discern, where the truth lies there, because of that creative element. And again, when you visualize the actual activity of the organ, that makes sense about when we think about the brain and what it's doing. But when we think about the gut, right, the gut is more as a nerve center. It's a place of knowingness, because the gut is making the decisions of food or feces, right? When the gut digests things, that's its primary role. And so when you take in something, when you take in, foodstuffs, the gut's role is to decide yes or no. Is this good for me, or is it rubbish? And so that very binary nature of that decision is a very knowing decision. It's very like yes, no, good, bad, food or feces, nutritious or poisonous, right? There's not a lot of flexibility in the middle. And so that kind of decision making, that like yes, no, if you put your consciousness down in your gut, and we talk about, this is reflected in language. We're coming back to language, your gut feeling, or that person really has guts. The allusion to the gut is common in language because of the nature of the gut and how it works and this knowingness. So when you go off of your gut feeling, it's this knowing of like, it's a very binary yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. There's none of that creativity that we have in the brain, and that's good. This is really good because when we're trying to make a decision or we're trying to anchor into a feeling of knowingness, right? We're tired of spinning in the brain. We're tired of spinning in the brain because it's very active, very creative, we go down, you can just send your consciousness into the gut and place it there. And in kind of a meditative way of centering on the gut, feeling with the gut, like literally put your consciousness down there, feel into it, and try to discern yes or no, like or even, think about how the gut works. The gut digests, and it takes a few days to digest, right? You eat the food, you don't worry about it, you digest it. And then at the end, the things that aren't necessary are passed through the gut. And so putting an idea into your gut, into your stomach, into your abdomen, into your belly, and just letting it rest there and trusting that you're going to digest it and that you'll just be aware at some point of yes, no, good, bad, nutritious or poisonous, healthy or toxic. That's what the gut does. It uses a knowingness, this deep, deep knowingness, this very in an evolutionary, like, this is not, this is good for me or this is going to kill me. And so using that, like, and visualizing this as how the organ works, how it works, and starting to incorporate this as a highly sensitive person who, if you feel tossed about by life, if you feel very unsure of things, if you feel like it's time to tap into your knowingness, go to your gut, literally, like go to your gut, hold your gut, put your hand over your solar plexus and, start to use your gut in that way to help you with decision making and knowing, tapping into that knowingness. Let me check my notes. Yes. So, and what stories, as far as gut health, again, I caveat this with listen to your own instincts, listen to your own gut on this. I can tell you what I've done, and I will in a few minutes here. I will tell you exactly what I did to improve my gut health. But what stories do you have about your gut health? Right? If I asked you right now, how healthy is your gut? You're already probably conjuring the answer to that. And then if I asked you, what things could you be doing to contribute to your own gut health? You probably already know the answer to that too. You've probably either experimented with things and found that they worked or didn't work, or your answer might just be, looking up more information. That's always a great answer. It's just searching for more information until it resonates with you and then incorporating it from an experimental point of view, right? Because this is your body. Experiment, have fun, enjoy the process, see what works and stick with it. Because in doing that, that's really for me what I've always found in life. The cornerstone of vetting out information that has to do with my health is really trusting my body's response, coming at it from an experimental point of view and seeing if it works, and then judging based on the results that I receive, whether, it was legit or not. So things that I found that really, when I decided to, give more love and attention to my gut so that I could incorporate that knowingness, so that I could step into my knowingness and really start to create from a place of certainty, as opposed to feeling tossed about and just confused and worried and really then creating more feelings, stronger feelings of happiness by taking care of my gut, getting that serotonin on board with me, and just feeling like everything, that part of my body wasn't being neglected, because that was an area I had always neglected my entire life. I was like, actually, literally, I was embarrassed of my tummy, of my belly area. I always kind of contracted there. So some of the things that I found: cutting out sugar, cutting out refined sugar, huge, huge, huge. Like really committing to not eating sugar was a huge game changer for me. Like when I made that shift, and for many years, I knew I had wanted to aim for that, but sugar was just so good, you know? And when I really committed to making that a lifestyle, like that permanent change was, and it's not to say I don't have a piece of cake or a cookie every once in a while, but really committing to cutting sugar out of my diet made a huge difference for my gut health. And then my overall health, my emotional health, my happiness. I didn't have these huge mood swings anymore, cutting out sugar. For me too, I took it, I don't eat a lot of carbs as it is, and I consider kind of carbs in the sugar bucket. So, eating more of a paleo lifestyle for me, because I already had a story in my head, because I had tried a lot of different diets. And my story, my belief was that paleo is what's healthiest for me and my gut. And so whatever your story is about what diet is best for you, when you run with it, you're going to feel better, because you're then taking action on your own beliefs. And so for me, paleo was the way to go, and cutting out sugar. Totally. But again, your body might really like carbs, might really run well on carbs. So do your own diligence and go for whatever diet makes you feel the best and stick with it. Taking an omega-3 daily, I had been doing that for several years, and I really do think that helps me. Again, committing to doing a green drink. I do a green drink daily, and that's just a handful it's typically my recipe for a green drink, and there's so many recipes out there. Either kale or spinach. I alternate half of a lemon, carrots, and whatever fruit or other vegetables that I have, I just kind of throw in. And the green drink too, I think, as far as the nutrients that I'm receiving, and then committing to that. Like, this is a small thing that I do for myself daily that really I feel has big results in terms of my overall emotional wellness. And no caffeine. I don't do caffeine because I just was never really into caffeine. I didn't like the way that it made me feel. And then finally, a really interesting game changer for me. So probably about 6 months ago, I decided to try apple cider vinegar, adding it to my daily intake, just to see if it did anything if I could lose some weight with it. Because I watched some other YouTube videos and I was like, I'm going to give this a try. Apple cider vinegar, when I incorporated it into my diet, and wow. Wow. I really think that it helped me as far as keeping, maintaining, my story is maintaining my alkalinity, my body's own alkalinity, and also reducing any bloating or irritation. I felt better taking, a little shot of apple cider vinegar, maybe a tablespoon mixed with some water every day. And that I noticed enough of a difference that I didn't want to stop it. And so, that kind of falls into the basket of fermented foods and everything. So hopefully some of these helped you. As soon as you commit to your gut health, as this really might be a game changer for you. If you're feeling tossed around by emotion, you're ready to get grounded, you're ready to go into your own knowingness and really create from that place and feel a lot more happiness and feel a lot more, level and more in control of yourself as a holistic being. Your gut might be the place to look. So I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment below to let me know what you do to maintain your gut health. What tips and tricks do you have to share with all of us about keeping your gut healthy? And if you are a highly sensitive person who is looking to up-level in life and you would like some additional support beyond my free videos, I have an excellent 3-month one-on-one coaching program called Flammable to Fireproof. I would love to hop on a free 30-minute consult with you, and we can talk more about stuff like this that is totally feasible that you can do to really up-level life pretty easily and incorporate and make it a routine so that you can experience more joy and happiness and results. So thanks for watching. Have an excellent day. Bye.